Hi guys, Karen Miller here. I just wanted to do a face-to-face. I haven't done this in a long time, and I know I've gotten a lot of subscribers since I think 6 months ago when I did this. I know the holidays are coming up. It's fast approaching, Thanksgiving and Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas. And I wanted to do a whole, like a feast, a Thanksgiving feast or a holiday feast. And I wanted to do a 3-part series. Appetizers, main dishes, and desserts. And some of the appetizers could count for main dishes, especially when you're talking about vegan, because I wanted to do a stuffed chayote squash. In Louisiana they do stuff, they call it mulletons, and they do it with the shrimp. So of course, you know, we do it with the oyster mushrooms, which, you know, have this fishy flavor. So I'm going to do it, I'm going to stuff the chayote squash with oyster mushrooms, right? That could count as a main dish, but I'm doing it as an appetizer. And then after I do that, I'm going to, you know, you're going to have to look over before Thanksgiving. All of this is going to be done by the middle of November. So you would have time to get all of your ingredients, because people are trying to, what do I do? What do I do for Thanksgiving? You know, so I'm going to really try my best to give you some dishes that is not only tasty, but it's really satisfying for your friends, your family who is trying to do that vegan lifestyle. You know, they could come over and they could have these delicious dishes and maybe motivated to eat this way for their health and well-being, because this is the way to go nowadays. This is the way to go, I'm telling you. So I'm going to do some stuffed peppers, and I'm going to do mushroom, lion mushroom, not lion mushroom, sorry, king oyster mushrooms. I don't know why, maybe I'm thinking of the Lion King or something. King oyster mushrooms. This is what it looks like. I know it's hard to find these mushrooms in your local supermarket. I found this at a place in New York called Italy, and when I saw these, I said, oh, scallops. And then I found, you know, people are doing this, vegans are doing this, cutting this up and doing this as scallops, and it looks exactly as scallops when you do it this way. And but what I was thinking of doing was maybe some kind of sushi, king oyster mushroom sushi. So if you can find this, it's like a delicacy. If you can find it, it's something you can do. But of course, I have other things that you can do. I already gave you the stuffed baby bella mushrooms months ago. So this is another appetizer that you can do. But this, look at this. This looks like, this is a phallic symbol. This looks like a penis, right? Don't you think? So, and some of them have a wider cover to it. It looks like an umbrella, but this looks like a penis. But anyway, moving along. So I'm going to try to do this and we'll see what happens. So keep watching. Thank you for your subscriptions, for watching my videos, and your great support and your comments. I really appreciate your comments, and I try to respond as quickly as possible. And again, thank you. All right, so let's get cooking. All right guys, so here I'm going to cook my chayote squash. This is a chayote squash. I have some water here in a large pan, and I'm going to add some salt, a little bit of salt, and I'm going to cover this and let it boil for about 40 minutes. This takes a while to soften up a bit, but you don't want it too soft, but it takes about 40 minutes to cook this one. So we're gonna get back to you after this is cooked. So this has been cooking for 40 minutes and it's tender. I don't want it too soft. I'm fishing it out of there. I'm gonna put it on a plate and let it cool, and then I would cut it open and we take it from there. All right, so guys, this squash is cool, so I'm able to handle it. So I'm going to cut it down the middle. See, and it has the pits in here. So I'm going to take this out. So what you do is you scoop the flesh out of this, and you use that as part of your stuffing. I'm going to take my paring knife and take this out here. See this part in the middle here? And you do it gently and make sure you don't go through the other end. So we remove the pit, and now you're going to scoop out the flesh from this without getting past the skin. And you see this is very watery, so you want to drain this out and get as much of the water out. So this is what you do, guys. So I'm going to do this, and then when I'm done, we're going to continue with this. So guys, I have removed the flesh part of the chayote squash, and maybe if you scrape it, there are certain areas like the top here is softer and it's easier to scrape, but just you would have to figure it out. But as long as you don't puncture the bottom here, so this is intact because you're stuffing this. So what I want to do now, I want to salt this because we want this to have some flavor. So when you cut into it and you bite into everything, it all has some flavor. So I'm going to salt this a little bit. Salt this, and that this has so much moisture. I'm going to salt this, and I'm going to turn it over to let some more of the water drip out from it. And this is the fleshy part that I removed from it. I'm going to chop this up, and then we're going to go to the stove, and you're going to see what I do, and then we take it from there. But I'm going to now turn this over to let some more of the moisture drip out of it, because we want as much of the moisture away from this. All right, so then when I come back, we're gonna be at the stove. So guys, let me show you what I'm putting into the squash, the stuffing. So we have all of our aromatics here. I have some sage here. I have some curly parsley. I prefer curly parsley because it has a better aroma, flavor, I think, than the Italian parsley. I have a little bit of scallions here. I have about a 1/4 cup of onions, red onions. And this here is your fennel, the fennel stalk. Let me show you what this looks like. Usually when you go to the store, you see the big bulb of fennel. This is organic, so it's so much smaller, and it comes with all of this. So I took this part, the stalk part. So this, I guess, would be like your celery, and I shaved off this part here because it's kind of woodsy, and then I chopped it up because I also needed some of the ferns. This has flavor in it. So this is what this is here. All right. Then we have our red pepper, a small pepper. It looks like this. You know, they have the large bell peppers. These are the small peppers. I have one of this. This is it here that I diced, chopped up. And then we have our oyster mushrooms that I chopped up here. One of those small cartons. I think it's 6-ounce cartons. And I also bought some of this in bulk. Now, as you know, it's the yellow oyster mushrooms, not those brown grayish ones. Those brown grayish ones, they do not have that fishy smell. It's the yellow oyster mushrooms. This is what you have to get that fishy smell. And I have the meat that I took out from the squash, and I squeezed it. So much moisture. You have to get rid of that moisture. Look at all the water that came from this. Look at all of the water. See? So you have to get that out of there because you don't want that thing soggy. So that's it. And who knows, I might have a light bulb moment and add something else, some other spice or something, oregano or something. I'll see. So let's go to the stove. So guys, we're at the stove. I have about 3 tablespoons of vegan butter here, and I'm going to add some oil like I like to do. Mix it up, medium low heat. After the butter is melted, we're going to add our onions, etc. Alright, so we're going to add our onions. Your red onions, your scallions, your peppers, and the fennel stalk. The fennel stalk. And we're going to let this saute for a bit. Turn the heat up a little bit. So you're basically just dumping everything in there. And then I'm going to add some breadcrumbs, homemade panko breadcrumbs. If you need the recipe, just let me know, email me, and I'll give you the recipe for the panko breadcrumbs. You basically make your bread, you remove the crust. After it's cool, you cut it up, you put it in the processor, and then you put it in the oven on low and slow, and you dry it out. That's your panko. I'm going to add my sage, my parsley, going to do some salt and cayenne pepper, or you could do pepper flakes. I don't think I have pepper flakes. I love pepper flakes. I don't think I have it. I'm going to use some Himalayan salt, season to your taste. I'm going to do some cayenne, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'm going to do some oregano as well. This dry oregano. Just a pinch, because it's very, the Mexican oregano is very pungent. Smelling good, the oregano. And now we're going to put our, chop this up a little bit more. We're going to put our mushrooms, our chopped up mushrooms. So you can stuff your chayote squash with mushrooms. You could do something like this, but you do the mushrooms instead of the oyster mushrooms. I am just doing a take on what they do in New Orleans, Louisiana, with the shrimp. So we're gonna let this saute for about 2-3 minutes and then get back to you. So this has been sauteing for about 2-3 minutes. So I'm going to add now the meat of the chayote squash. So I'm only doing one for demonstration purposes. You can do, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, depending on how many people you having over for dinner. This is just for demonstration purposes. And of course I'm going to write the description, the recipe in the description, because I know I was terrible with measurements today. I was not in the mood. You guys know I don't like to measure stuff. You know, I learned to cook by watching. You know, shut up and watch. That's what I was told. Just shut up. So, I'm going to add my homemade breadcrumbs. And you could add some more butter. You know, just use your discretion. I think I want to add some more cayenne pepper to this. This smells so, so good. So good. Because you know I love my heat. So that's it, guys. So when I come back, I'm going to show you how I stuff the squash, and then we put it into the oven for about 20 minutes, 375 degrees. All right, guys, I have my 2 halves of chayote squash here. I put 2 dots each of vegan butter, more flavor. When it gets into the oven, it starts melting into this. Flavor, 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 right? Because we want to stay on this vegan diet. So I'm going to put my stuffing mixture in here. And what I'm thinking of doing is frying up some of the oyster mushrooms and doing it as a topping after this comes out of the oven. So we're gonna pack this in here. By the way, I tasted this, guys. This is so, so good. This is so, so good. So good. This is so good. Make sure you have your sage and that parsley and that fennel. I'm telling you, all together. I think this is good. This is a good height here. And then there's somebody who wants some of that left over here. Yeah, this is really good. And you can put some more butter on the top here, and you stick it in the oven 375 degrees for about 20 minutes, and you're good to go. All right, guys, so when this gets out of the oven, we're going to show you. All right, guys, so this was in the oven for 20 minutes. I decided last minute to cover it because I didn't want this to get too brown. So I covered it for about half the time, 10 minutes, took out the cover. What I did was I did some foil with the parchment. Do not let the food touch your, do not let the foil touch your food, right? So you put the parchment paper over it and you cover it. I covered it for 10 minutes and then removed it. You see it's a nice brown color. And then I made a batter with some garbanzo bean flour and white spelt flour, and I made my little nuggets of oyster mushrooms as a garnish. See? And this is so crispy. See, you can hear it. You can hear the sound of it. So you use that as a garnish, and you could also do like a mushroom gravy. You know, if you want this with some gravy, you can do a mushroom gravy with the baby bella, of course, not the oyster mushrooms. The baby bella mushroom, it's whatever mushroom you want, you make a gravy, you pour over this. Even more delicious. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. I decided to do the blooming onions, so let's move on to the next thing.